Can you build muscle and burn body fat, creating a body transformation on a raw vegan fruitarian diet? Well, the answer is yes, but I'm going to get into the details of why and how. So, the leading benefit of a raw vegan fruit-based diet, or what people call a fruitarian diet, is that the overwhelming majority of all the food choices are loaded with antioxidants. The reason why this is important is because antioxidants reduce inflammation and oxidative stress. Right, well, now, first of all, oxidative stress is basically what breaks down and damages cells. All right, so when something toxic enters the body, some form of metabolite, outside toxin, whatever the case is, these things can actually attack and break down your cells, damage them, and then ultimately they die off over time. Antioxidants reduce the amount of cellular damage that happens in your body. If you have less cellular damage in your body, then you have less inflammation. Now, inflammation can be rashes, aches, soreness, all types of things, right? It can be mental health issues, gas, bloating, things of this nature, right? There's all types of different ways that inflammation shows up in your body and all kind of different ways that you feel it, okay? And so if you have less oxidative stress and less inflammation, this leads to better recovery and quicker muscle gain, all right? Understand that your body is either in a state of recovery or in a state of building new infrastructure, new cells, new hormones, things like this. And all of this depends on homeostasis and how far away from homeostasis you are. Now, if your body, your cells are under assault, they're being attacked and damaged at an accelerated level, that's going to throw off homeostasis, all right? And so now the priority for recovery is going to become increased in order to protect your body from this cellular damage. If your food protects your cells from this damage, you're able to maintain homeostasis as a result, your body can now prioritize building new muscle tissue and all that kind of stuff. All right, so that is the leading benefit. As far as building muscle is concerned, well, what do you need to build muscle? Primary mechanisms to build muscle, as far as your macros are concerned, are protein and carbohydrates. Protein, you don't need a whole lot of. You just need enough. Right? More protein consumption does not lead to more muscle gain because your body is only going to use a certain amount of protein at a time. So by consuming extra protein, that protein, if it's not being used to build new lean mass, is going to be converted into glucose and used for energy through a process called gluconeogenesis. Carbohydrates is the primary fuel of energy for the human body, right? It's the most accessible. Carbohydrates break down into glucose. If it's fruit, then it's going to be glucose and fructose, okay? So it's like a 50-50 split. And so half of the energy from the fruit is going to go to your liver in the form of fructose to be converted into glucose, and that glucose is going to go straight to your muscle cells, bone tissue, etc. And that's going to be used as well as your brain, which uses 20 to 25% of all the glucose. All of that is going to go to your lean cells, right? And in some cases, right, your fat cells as well, temporarily. Glucose is used to power all of the processes in your body, right? Hormone production, muscle protein synthesis, everything, right? Pretty much every process, right? Now, when you have a raw vegan fruitarian diet, you can eat an abundance of fruit and food, and being that it's all coming from carbohydrates, essentially what's going to happen is you're going to have more glucose stored inside your lean tissue, in this case muscle, as glycogen. So you're going to have a healthy store of energy to fuel your training. The thing that really builds muscle is resistance training, whether it be weightlifting, body weight exercises, training with resistance bands, whatever the case is. But challenging your muscle and fatiguing your muscle is going to stimulate muscle growth, right? Scientifically known as hypertrophy. Now, going back to the homeostasis thing, there is a certain level of glucose that your body requires. Your body dips below that, you're now put into a state of recovery, all right? And your body now has to tap into stored fat and convert that into glucose to maintain homeostasis. So let's take, for example, your fasted blood sugar level, which is normally going to be like around a 90 or in between a 90 and an 80, or at least that's a healthy level, all right? As your blood sugar level drops, your body will then pull glucose from your fat cells to then bring that level back up. If your blood sugar level drops too low, you feel lightheaded, weak, lethargic, fatigued, maybe even nauseous, and you can pass out. This is called a state of hypoglycemia. When you're eating an abundance of fruits and things like this increases the amount of glucose stored inside your cells. This is a green light for your body. And this then converts into not just a state of recovery to now refill energy supply, but now using that energy supply to build new muscle tissue, to improve the infrastructure of your muscle, increase and thicken bone mass, as well as accelerate brain function, right? So in all the experience that I've had with people who come to me for nutritional coaching, anxiety and depression is one of the first things to improve when it comes to a diet high in carbohydrates, especially from fruit. Because that abundance of glucose from the fruit also comes with micronutrients, tryptophan, magnesium, potassium, things like that. And these things are very beneficial for the hormonal balance in your body, particularly serotonin, melatonin, dopamine, endorphins, and adrenaline, which is very important to maintain your brain chemistry so that you can feel strong, alert, confident, motivated, and all of that type of stuff, which are the things that you need in order to train at your best. All right, so to build muscle, brain chemistry is very important. And so that's another reason why having this fruit-based diet is actually very advantageous. Also keeps you hydrated. So now you're storing an adequate amount of water inside your muscle cells and storing your glucose. So you're gonna have an abundance of glycogen and water, all this fuel, and then magnesium and potassium and things stored inside your lean tissue cells as well. All of this together puts the body in a state known as an anabolic state, right? You'll hear like people in the bodybuilding community talk about anabolic and catabolic. So when I was talking about a state of recovery and a state of building, another way to phrase that is an anabolic state or a catabolic state. When you're low on fuel, your body's going to prioritize recovery. When there's a lot of inflammation and oxidative stress, your body's going to prioritize recovery. That's known as a catabolic state. When you eat an abundance of fruits, loaded up with water, vitamin C, beta carotene, that is the substrate for vitamin A, B vitamins, all of these type of micronutrients, right? Zinc, copper, magnesium, all of these micronutrients, these minerals and vitamins and antioxidants. All of those things in abundance put your body in an anabolic state, which encourages growth. So this stimulates the release of growth hormone. This stimulates the release of things like brain-derived neurotropic factors, right, which improves cognitive function and thus improves nervous system function. And when you optimize nervous system function, this serves as the substrate to build new bone mass and muscle tissue. And bone mass and muscle tissue grow together, right? They're intrinsically related. This is why if you have like some type of bone degenerative disease, osteoporosis or something like this, building new lean mass can actually improve your bone density. So these things go along together. So your nervous system, your bone mass, and your muscle mass, they improve together. All right, so when you have, this carbohydrate-rich, water-rich, micronutrient-rich diet and anti-inflammatory foods, this all keeps your body in an anabolic state, and that's what builds muscle. All right. Getting into the food choices, here's some very important daily foods to consider if you're going to pursue this way of eating. Eating a melon a day. So for me, that would be honeydew, cantaloupe, watermelon, things like this. Now, of course, if you get a watermelon that's like 10 or 20 pounds, you're not going to eat the whole thing in one day. But you may want to eat, let's say, 3 to 4 pounds of watermelon a day, right? And then your average honeydew or cantaloupe is in between 3 to 4 pounds. On average, about 3.5. Right? And so one cantaloupe or one honeydew, that's around 11 grams of protein or so, maybe 12, and it has a caloric value in between 4 and change and 500. Right? You're definitely going to be getting an abundance of fuel from that, right? And the reason why I'm a big fan of cantaloupe is because it's very rich in something called beta carotene, which is the substrate for vitamin A. Your body takes beta carotene and creates vitamin A. Vitamin A is very important for hair, skin and nails, brain function, hormonal health, peak testosterone levels, protein, muscle synthesis, eye health, all kinds of stuff, right? So it's important to have that. Also, it's going to have vitamin E, and vitamin E is also a very important fat-soluble antioxidant, right? That is also important for maintaining and protecting all of the tissues in your body, as well as hormones, adrenal function, etc. Okay? Sexual health, all that kind of stuff. Blood flow, you name it. Heart health, all of that. So that vitamin A, that vitamin E, and then also vitamin C, which is the most prevalent antioxidant in the human diet. Right? So that's going to be overtly protective. And then, of course, vitamin B6, which is also very prevalent in cantaloupe, which is important for nervous system function, along with potassium, adequate amounts of magnesium and calcium and manganese together, which facilitates and optimizes peak muscular contractions, which is what you need for training performance. So that's cantaloupe, honeydew, right? Watermelon. Watermelon is very rich in an amino acid called citrulline, right, which is a precursor for arginine, which then converts in the body into nitric oxide. And that dilates your vascular system, optimizing blood oxygen level. And that's very important for brain function, muscular performance and growth, as well as fat metabolism. Okay. Peak fat burn requires a substantial amount of oxygen. All right. So the more oxygen your body has available to use, the more fat burn your body can engage in. Fruits are inherently oxygen rich because they're inherently water rich. The most hydrating foods are going to be the foods that really, I want to say, optimize oxygen uptake in your cells. All right. So you got watermelon, you got cantaloupe, you got honeydew, and then mangoes. Mangoes are a very good source of essential fatty acids, right? EPA, for example, right? Omega-3 essential fatty acids. Mangoes are also a rich source of probiotics, or what people call beneficial gut bacteria, right? That's closest to the core of the fruit. Very good for your gut health. Also hormonal function, right? Mangoes are a bit higher in fat than most fruits. It's not a high fat fruit like an avocado is, but it does have a good amount, especially vitamin E and vitamin A and K, right? So mangoes are going to be very beneficial in that way. It's very important for hormonal health, sleep quality, that kind of thing. And it's a tryptophan-rich food. And tryptophan is an amino acid that is the substrate for serotonin, all right? And serotonin is one of the main hormones that acts as the currency for life, right? It is the basis for good sleep quality and mental health, right? Serotonin is known as like the feel-good hormone or the pleasure hormone. And so most of your serotonin is produced in your gut and then is synthesized afterwards in your brain in smaller amounts. And when it's time to go to sleep at night, when you're exposed to the dark, your brain then converts serotonin into melatonin. And that melatonin is then released at night for you to be able to go to sleep, right? This is what allows you to fall into a deep sleep, right? So fruits have a direct benefit in that regard. Then you have bananas, okay? Bananas are a great source of fuel and making sure you get an abundance of carbohydrates, B vitamins, and magnesium. Magnesium is going to be one of the most prevalent minerals in the human diet. I can go all day long about all these different minerals and stuff. I don't want to hold you too long, right? But yeah, watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew, mangoes, bananas, right? We're 5 in so far. And this is going to be like the bulk of a lot of where your carbs and your fuel comes from. And all of this, all fruits have protein. So when people say, oh, well, I'm going to get my protein, you don't really necessarily have to worry about this as much as you think, especially if you're eating enough. Because you could be eating 4, 5, 6, and even 700 grams of carbohydrates a day, depending on your lifestyle. Okay? So you can consume a lot of carbs. And it really depends on what your goal is. Are you trying to drop body fat and build muscle? Do you mainly just want to build muscle? Are you more focused on weight loss? That's going to determine how much you eat. So bananas, also rich in tryptophan, also rich in potassium, vitamin C, magnesium, manganese, right? All these types of things that are important, not just for muscle mass, but bone mass and your nervous system and your hormonal health. Then you have grapes. Red grapes in particular, or dark pigmented grapes. Red grapes, black grapes, right? These are very rich in iron and copper, as well as vitamin C, water, good sources of fiber, particular insoluble fiber that's very beneficial for your gut health, okay? So these deep red pigmented fruits like grapes or watermelon are specifically very important for your vascular health, your heart health, and overall your blood flow. Okay, and blood flow is so important is because your blood is the transportation mechanism for all of the nutrients in your body, including oxygen. Okay? So higher quality blood leads to the improvement of everything else in your entire body. Brain chemistry, hormonal health, muscle building, training performance, fat metabolism, reversing chronic illness, everything, right? So grapes, big deal. Then you got things like cucumber, which is great to put in a salad. And cucumber is not really calorically dense, mainly just water and fiber and micronutrients, right? But it's very good for detoxing your body. Okay, so cucumber is definitely going to be on the list, specifically because of how good it is for reversing chronic illness and improving gut health. Then you got berries, and everybody knows about berries: blueberries, raspberries, strawberries, and you got cranberries, you got cherries, all of those. Phenomenal, right? Because they're all like nature's medicine, right? Really good tasting, watery, delicious medicine, all right? So definitely having those, all right? And having them in an abundance, right? Mixing them up, right? A cup of blueberries with a cup of raspberries, with a cup of strawberries, whatever the case is. Right? Kiwis. Kiwis, another good source of vitamin E. Also a really good source of fiber. Right? Also a very good source of magnesium. And a really big deal when it comes to vitamin C. Right? Kiwi is one of them superfoods. It's a big deal. Right? So these are just some of the foods that you can eat in abundance on a fruit-based diet. These are some of my personal favorites. And then there's apples, grapefruit, citrus fruits in general. Citrus fruits are very good for optimizing fat metabolism, right? So there's a whole laundry list. I mean, I can name like 15 different fruits per day. Oh, not per day, but just in general, and you can pick like 10 of them or 5 of them to eat in a day or so. So one day you can have, let's say, 6 bananas, one melon, 4 mangoes, 4 cups of grapes, 2 cucumbers, and 4 kiwis, something along those lines. That can be like all the fruits and whatnot that you can eat throughout the day. Now, as far as protein is concerned, depending on what level you're training at, you may want to add more protein to your diet. And that's where you can do like a smoothie, like a protein smoothie, for example. Okay, so you get some plant-based milk. My favorite one is soy milk. You can put in some pea protein isolate. I use a brand called Naked Pea Protein, right? And the one ingredient is just peas, right? So pea protein isolate, cacao powder, moringa powder, and the cacao powder is loaded with magnesium and manganese. It's also very good for gut health, etc. Okay, and it's alkalizing. It's a big deal for your health overall, especially for fat metabolism and maintaining a healthy metabolism in general. Then you got moringa leaf. Now, moringa leaf is clinically proven to help reverse insulin resistance, right? So if you're diabetic, this is also going to be very important for you, along with the cacao powder or any food that's rich in magnesium. Then you've got cinnamon, and you could put cinnamon in there. Ceylon cinnamon is my preferred one. Ceylon cinnamon is also clinically proven to reverse insulin resistance as well. So in that smoothie alone, you can get like 3 different things at least in there that's going to help to reverse insulin resistance. All right, in that smoothie. So you're getting protein in that smoothie, you're getting all types of antioxidants, and then you're getting things that's going to help to reverse insulin resistance and improve your blood sugar levels overall, which is going to make it a lot easier for you to cram down more fruits and lose weight and reverse fatty liver and kidney issues and all types of things like that, right? And then if you want to sweeten it up, you can add coconut sugar, and coconut sugar, it's low on the glycemic index, which means it's not going to spike your blood sugar in the way that like conventional table sugar would, all right, because of its fructose. So with a smoothie like what I just explained, especially if you add powdered peanuts like PB Fit, for example, this smoothie can come out to be like anywhere between 65 and 70 grams of protein right in that smoothie. So you have the 65 or 70 grams of protein in the smoothie, and then with the combination of all of your fruit should give you like around 25 grams of protein on average. So it's very easy to get an abundance of protein on a raw vegan fruit-based diet or a fruitarian diet. Moving on to weight loss, because I talked a lot about building muscle primarily, and of course, burning fat. Now, the thing about this kind of eating, and it comes to fat metabolism, is because fruit is anti-obesogenic. So there's an inverse correlation between fruit consumption and obesity. And there's clinical data, all kinds of clinical data to show this, epidemiological data, statistical data that shows this. The more fruit you consume, the more body fat you drop. All right? And so this is borne out. There's an inverse correlation between the two. So if you increase the amount of fruit in your diet, obesity comes down, right? Weight loss improves. And obviously, if you're staying hydrated, antioxidants and all that. And one thing you got to understand about obesity is a chronic illness. It's not a number on the scale or just simply an excess storage of fat. It's a chronic illness that's usually a result of a metabolic disorder. And 1 in 3 people in our population have a metabolic disorder. So if you put 3 people in a room, chances are at least one of them has a metabolic disorder, all right? So that could be insulin resistance to some degree, maybe adrenal fatigue or fatty liver or whatever the case is, hypothyroidism, etc. Right? So that's pretty much the deal with that. Now with fruit, the interesting thing about fruit is the fact that it doesn't keep your blood sugar really elevated. The glucose from fruit is very easily used. It's not really complex and hard to break down and all of that, right? It's very easy for your body to digest and metabolize fruit and be able to absorb nutrients from the fruit and send it to all of your cells in a timely fashion, right? Which means it doesn't sit heavy on your gut over a prolonged period of time and giving you the itis. You actually get an abundance of energy. With all the people that I work with and write diet plans for, especially raw plans loaded with fruit, the thing they always tell me is they have an abundance of energy. They feel really good, and their sleep quality is significantly improved from the diet plans that I'm giving them. right? Following this strategy. Because these are very energy-rich foods that reduce oxidative stress. A lot of the tiredness and fatigue you feel and the lack of sleep is a result of excessive levels of oxidative stress, which we typically call stress. And there is a direct correlation between your stress level and weight gain. The more stress you feel, the more weight you gain, right? When you relieve stress and reduce stress and you improve your sleep quality, it's easier to lose weight, right? So I've seen this play out time and time with people when it comes to losing weight. They feel better, they feel less stressed, their body's less stressed, the inflammation comes down, the weight starts coming off. So this is how you lose weight. It's not just simply just cutting the amount of food that you eat, cutting calories, right? In fact, most people who are obese don't actually eat enough to maintain their weight by the numbers. So if you're 300 pounds and you only eat once or twice a day and you're struggling to lose weight, it's not because you're eating too much calorically. Because you have a metabolic disorder where your body is overstressed, it's overworked, and it's underfed because the foods you're eating are just not compatible with your metabolism. It's not easy to use these things for fuel because your metabolism in your gut is congested. So the way of eating I'm talking about and the foods that I'm talking about, this is a way of decongesting your body to get things really working seamlessly again. And this is what leads to a body transformation, building lean mass, reducing and releasing body fat. Hit the link in the description below to book a call with me and subscribe for more high raw vegan, plant-based diet tips.